by glorifying God is feeling and thinking and doing what we do, acting in a way that reflects the greatness of God.
Limitations are no match for the awesome power that God has. And if you need help, just call on Him for guidance. As you stand alongside His people and believe that God's blessing for your life will seek you and keep you in contact with our Maker, cause He is the Alpha and Omega that gives us the breath to wake up, to shake up and face up all our troubles. And if you alone, it could feel like you're getting hit with a double entendre, while this holy monster that lies deep inside you is fighting to escape the devil's overwhelming hatred for God's amazing creations. And it's crazy how the devil tries to drown your faith with hatred, depression, and paranoia to convince you that God's power is fake. But just take this chance to enhance your vision and pay close attention as you listen to the message that I'm giving. Cause our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. Look. God made the lights, the stars, the people in the cars, and goes beyond our logical mind to touch our hearts to make sure we never fall apart. Even when we facing our times in our life through trials and tribulations that tries to break us, I know that we can make it if we hold on tight and have faith that God will make a way for us. And then He'll save us, cause He said Himself He'll never forsake us, leave us to rot and turn to dust. Nah, man, that path wasn't meant for us. Instead, our destiny is to spend eternity in heaven with God as our soul overflows with happiness and love. So if you find a lost soul, don't be afraid to embrace them with open arms and a holy spiritual hug. Because as God's children, it's our mission to save the world from anarchy with God's overwhelming power that sets us free. Cause our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. Yeah, our God is infinite, and we do it real big. After life is real good when we having a party time with Jesus.
Go, Jesus!
Yeah, this Christian life I live is influenced by God's people, which is my family. So this motivation to pursue God's legacy to make a difference on society comes with ease. And I can defeat the devil's tricks when he tries to block me with obstacles in my life to stop me from achieving God's blessings with scars that made me bleed both physically as well as mentally. But wounds that God's overwhelming love helped nurture me back to full health ever since I was a baby. And it's crazy how this world only accepts true perfection. If you do not meet the requirements, then you are obsolete. Well, I'ma move to a spiritual beat that gives me the reason to say I don't care about being far away from perfect, because perfect is far away from our God. The reason being is our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. You heard of hell, but God's people wasn't meant for it. Instead, He takes His children to a higher extent, going beyond your consciousness, doing things that you can't even comprehend. And God's power never ends, man. Our God is infinite. And I'm out.